the further you stand back, the more alive it becomes. But at the same time, the flow of exact lining and perfection, that I think is what I was striving for a lot. And that's what I ended up choosing pop art, because you got your definite lines, your solid lines, but at the same time, the further you stand back, the more it just makes sense.
We're in the architecturally inspiring surrounds of the Women's Jail on Constitutional Hill with award-winning, with well-renowned photographer Adrian Steirn, whose current exhibition, 21 Icons, is not only receiving rave reviews for its artistic brilliance, but also for the people that you represent in the exhibition. But we're going to come back to that.
Sure.
The first question I ask you, when did you receive, or when did you get your first camera?
First camera, I wasn't one of those kids who picked up photography early. I was always around cameras. My dad had cameras. He was the world's worst photographer. And I think I got my first waterproof camera around 13. We'd take it out in the surf, and I grew up in Sydney. We were always taking it at the surf and trying to get photos of each other getting waves.
So when did the bug bite you? When did you become interested in an artistic form?
About 20 years of age, studying at university, and...
In Sydney?
In Sydney, yeah. And essentially, I'd fallen in love with Africa. I was brought to Africa as a 6-year-old, went on safari. From 18, 19 onwards, would always come back. Come back in the off-seasons of rugby, in between university breaks. And a camera for me became a way that I could come back for perhaps a little bit of work. Back in those days, so I needed to defray costs. So I do work for magazines and things like that. So I started picking it up at university. I did journalism, studied journalism law at university, and majored in photography.
So you took on, you were a journalist. You understood journalism?
No. Didn't have a clue.
But Adrian, you have a wonderful eye. I mean, you have an incredible eye for creating a scene, for creating almost this ambiance. Was that natural, or did you take your inspiration from anybody else?
Oh, look, I think with all of creativity is always borrowed. It's sort of through osmosis. You learn it over the years. You pick it up from. It can be something as sort of as detached as television shows that start to shape who you are. I was very inspired by Attenborough and his BBC documentaries growing up, starting to show me the value of telling a story. One of the fascinating things is I'd never seen a killer whale in the wild, but I knew all about killer whales because as a little kid I used to watch these documentaries. I'd never seen a jaguar, I'd never seen a leopard at that point in the wild, but started to learn and understand and fall in love with these stories. So the photos that I take are all about, I see the story and I want to take a photo that tells that story.
There are two things there though. First of all, your photos are technically brilliant. The way that you use light, you use mainly black and white. So not only are they technically brilliant, but also you seem to capture the essence of animals. And we're going to go on to from animals to people. It's not normal to find, or it's not usual to find people who can do both.
Yeah, look, I think often people would like to say, we are this. I am a barrister, or I am a doctor, or I do this. I take a slightly different view.
You can't tell a rhinoceros how to pose.
No, precisely. But every single one of these subjects has a narrative. And when I take a photo, it's all about exploring the narrative, showing that narrative. And the last 6, 7 years I've lived in South Africa, and I've run these two parallel genres, I guess, of Africa's incredible people, reportage, and then my wildlife work. And I don't see them as disparate, you know, I don't see them as that different, to be honest with you.
Do you touch them up? Do you touch photographs up? Do you play around with them on the screen?
No, I'm very traditional in that way. I like to shoot what I see and then present what I see. I think that, and I'm not here to say that people or photographers who touch their photos up are any greater or any less, but I do believe that as a photographer, duty to shoot what was there and to tell that story.
Do you do colour?
Not really.
No.
Not really. I don't
William
like it.
Kentridge as well, you know. I know that you have a very close relationship with the artist William Kentridge,
Yep.
and he also seems to stick to black and white or very basic tones without really going beyond that. Is there a reason that you don't do colour?
I just see in that monochromatic way, and a lot of the photographers who've inspired me, Salgado, Yusuf Kash, these photographers have all shot in black and white. And I think that there is a formality. I think there's, especially in a world at the moment, where digital imagery is everywhere. These days, everybody with an iPhone, everybody with a Samsung is a photographer. And I think that it's true. That's just the reality of the situation, and there's nothing wrong with that. But to shoot beautiful images and to present them the way that I want to present them, I shoot them in black and white. And I think I always will, always have. It's just something that comes very natural.
Coming to 21 Icons, I mean, it's a stunning exhibition, and you have ex-President de Klerk with his shoes off in situations that you never spotted. It almost reminds you of Annie Leibovitz in her early Rolling Stones covers, where she had John and Yoko, and she had a pregnant Demi Moore. Are you inspired by that? Are you trying to capture the same kind of issues with those characters?
Yeah, I mean, the early Annie Leibovitz stuff, I think, was just an extraordinary era photography. What she did, I thought was very beautifully done. The South Africa that's presented to the rest of the world is perhaps often not the warm, loving, community-focused South Africa. It can be portrayed as a violent place that is on the edge, on the slide, and I think that's absolutely wrong. So this is very much where 21 Icons came from. I'd go around the world and I'd talk and I'd present, and these questions would come back at me saying, oh, what's going to happen to South Africa after Mandela's died? Waiting for this inevitable civil war. And I said, well, absolutely nothing. South Africa is a thriving society that's in its infancy of democracy. It's coming up to 20 years, and you can say it all you like, but to show it was the challenge that we took on, to show a South Africa that was beyond the narrative of just Nelson Mandela. That was very important for me. Nelson Mandela is, I can tell you nothing, I can show you nothing revelationary. I took the last portrait of Mandela, and I was fortunate enough to spend time with him, but there's nothing revelationary in what I've done with Nelson Mandela. Hopefully, the revelation here is for the 130 million people who saw this project around the world, that South Africa is a thriving society with incredible people living in the now.
Did you choose?
I chose them.
You chose them?
Only because no one else wanted to choose them. So I said, no problem. Photographically, people who had influenced me, their stories influenced me. There was nothing definitive. So that's why we're shooting a second collection this year. And my focus was really on these South Africans who had made a positive impact and were making a positive impact on South Africa now. I think since we finished season 1, 3 of the icons have passed on: Gordimer, Tobias, Madiba. And there's a sadness there, but for me, it points to the power of this project to show that we're shooting another season. This society, we are all mortal. There's no society, no healthy society, that is based around the narrative of one man or woman. There is no healthy society that cannot survive the death of one person. And that's what I wanted to really show. Every single one of us are mortal.
When you photograph these people, how long do you spend with them? Have you got a preconceived idea of what you're going to do before you shoot? Or do you look at the person, talk to them, and then decide?
No, we go in, it varies. And it can depend on your subject. You'll get some people who you can't dictate to them how you're going to photograph them. But the thing that we stumbled upon as a team 4 or 5 years ago was shooting this portrait and then sitting down with them and interviewing. I'd never interviewed anyone in my entire life, mate, until 5 years ago. But we found common ground after we'd shot a portrait of de Klerk with his shoes off in the lotus position. And a lot of these people weren't used to that theatre, that being on show, that style of portrait. So by the time we got to the interview, you were firm friends, because you'd just gone through something. They were happy, they were relieved. They were thought, thank God that's over, you know? So this is what we turned this thing into, and it became this multimedia project. And look, and I'm not being mercenary about this, but this thing wouldn't have been possible without the sponsors who came aboard. And this was something completely different. This was a multimedia project that a bald Australian came in and pitched these guys and said, look, I've shot it, I've paid for it.
Did you pay for the film?
Yeah, we pay for it. And then very late in the piece, because I mean, how do you say to somebody, mate, I've got this idea, fund it for me? You've got to put your money where your mouth is. So we funded it.
Corporate South Africa's come to your help.
Yeah,
it's been highly successful.
It's been massive. It's hugely successful, and the sponsors have been part of the family. And the people of South Africa have got behind us. You know, early on, we had friends. We slept on people's couches. We shot Johnny Clegg in a mate's house. You know, it was that sort of very early, synergistic sort of symbiotic relationships that we had with so many people, and so many people got behind us in this country, and it's something that I will forever be grateful for. But yeah, you have to understand this was not overproduced, and that is the sort of magic. If you go and watch these films, you go and watch the long-form documentary, you look at the book, you look at the portraits, this is a truly multimedia project, and these didn't really exist in South Africa.
How long does this go on for? Because we know you're coming out with now Next 21 Icons.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what you're calling it, but you're going to be launching the Next 21 Icons. So how long will each exhibition go on?
It goes on for a year. Just keeps going on in perpetuity. I mean, look, the point is, there is no definitive collection or selection of amazing South Africans. By definition, for a society to be successful, the people who are sitting in this room being interviewed in 20 years need to be more successful than you and I for this country to be on the up and up. That shouldn't be too hard. But you know what I mean?
I understand.
We are together, we are better. That's essentially where we got to. And this thing just rolled on. Google got behind it. We started doing educational classes. We had this exhibition in Mabanang that sort of was this thing that people showed up to and then couldn't believe what they were seeing. Every step of the way it was revelationary. We had people overseas get behind it. The Wall Street Journal, the London Times, the Australian, they literally created a microsite and ran a positive South Africa for 5 months overseas. And they were amazed by the South African people that we showcased. And that's beautiful. It's not, take it from me, that it's far more exciting to be able to show a revelationary portrait about someone like a Kumi Naidoo or a Shabalala or a Lillian Singer than it is to take a portrait of de Klerk or Tutu or Mandela, because so many people have done it before. The pressure on me there is to take a beautiful portrait and something completely different. But it's not revelationary. What is revelationary is this insight into a South African community that helps each other. And that's what we wanted to showcase.
Adrian, unfortunately, you're running out of time. We wish you all the best with the next icons and those that are come. There's only one thing that I have to say to you. You have to brush up on the Cape Townian accent.
No, I know. I've got to go back to school, mate. I've got to go back to school.
I wish you could say you've been on the couch with David Shapiro, but we've been on some very hard chairs at the women's jail on Constitutional Hill. Until next time.
Who's that man calling the stranger in my land? I'm on my land. Who's that man telling me?
We're coming to you from the palace of genuine royalty, a lady who was crowned Princess of Africa by